friends, and welcome to a very special collaboration between True Tone and I on this rare interview with the great Don Kelley. If you're not familiar with Don Kelley, then you need to know that he is one of the greatest band leaders and guitar coaches to ever walk the planet. Through his band came such talents as Brent Mason, Red Volkart, Johnny Highland, Guthrie Trapp, J.D. Simo, Daniel Donato, and many, many others. This is a rare chance for you to hear Don talk about all those players and just tell his story and how he ended up in the role that he held for 40 plus years, playing on Broadway and other parts of Nashville 4 and 5 nights a week, playing some of the greatest music that's been played here in Nashville. So I hope you enjoy. Well, hello friends, and welcome to the True Tone Lounge. Today we're very honored to have a very special guest that we've been chasing him for years, and finally he relented. So to give a little background, and our brothers across the sea have a guy named John Mayall, who through his band came individuals like Eric Clapton and Peter Green and Mick Taylor and Coco Montoya. Well, here in Nashville we had the Don Kelley Band. And through his band came guys from Brent Mason and Red Volkart and all the way up to more current guys like J.D. Simo and Daniel Donato and Luke McQuarrie, and just an amazing band that Don led from 1981 up until just a year or two ago, and he retired. And so we're very fortunate to get to have Don here, and to get him to tell his story and just how he came about being, the band leader and kind of a coach for all these guitar players that came through his band. So Don, thank you so much.
I was referred to as General Patton one time.
That's perfect.
I'll take that.
Yeah, General Patton. So Don, I know that you're wearing a Wichita Falls shirt, and I know that you're from Wichita Falls. So that was that where you were born?
July the 11th, 1946.
Nice.
To J.T. and Verna Kelley.
Yeah. And how did you get into music?
Well, this young fellow right here is David Holcomb.
Okay.
I was in an elementary school. I've been in 10 elementary schools. My dad moved every time the rent was due. I love my dad, don't get me wrong. And anyway, we moved around a lot. My mother's folks lived in Fort Worth, Texas, and my dad's folks were in Wichita Falls. So I spent most of my time there, but I did spend part of the third grade in Fort Worth. Well, we came back to Wichita Falls in the middle of the year, and I went to San Jacinto Elementary School. And the first day I was there, I meet this guy right here. That's David Holcomb. And after school, he said, you want to come over to my house and play? And I said, well, where do you live? He said, you walk out of San Jacinto, there's an alley. In Texas, in the 50s, the alleys ran this way. Here's a block of houses on a paved street. And here are 2 alleys that cross, right, and they're red dirt, which turns to red mud. Mm-hmm. Anyway, we lived in a little shotgun house at the end of this alley. Well, right over here was another little shotgun house, and that's where David lived. So after school, I was going home, just walk down the alley, I was there. Well, if you take a right there at the crossroads, there's David's house. So he said, let's go over to my house and play. I said, well, is your mom and dad home? He said, no, they work. So we go over there, and he opens the door, and we go in this little shack-looking place. That's pretty much about what it was. Yeah. And on the back of the couch was a little guitar case, about that big. And I don't know, I walked in, I said, what is that? He said, it's a ukulele. I said, a what? He said, it's a ukulele. And I said, can you play it? And this guy's so bashful, And he said, I play a little bit. And I said, so he got it out. And he started playing that thing, and I swear I still think about it to this day. I was going, that's amazing for an 11-year-old kid. I'm just sitting there. I didn't say a word till he finished. And I said, would you come down to my house and play that for my mama? And he said, well, I'm not supposed to go anywhere but home when I get out because my mom is not there. And I said, well, it's just right there. So I drag him down there with that ukulele, and my mom's in there washing dishes in the kitchen. The little shotgun houses. You go in this door and it's straight
long
back.
and narrow. Yeah.
Yeah. So we get to the kitchen part of it, and she's got her back to us. I said, Mama, I want you to hear this kid play this little guitar. Boy, he fires it up. He does Loveliest Night of the Year. Have you ever heard Alfalfa do that in the Little Rascals? Anybody?
Yes,
Anyway.
yes, I have heard that.
Okay,
Yes.
that's what it sounded like.
Yeah.
And my mother was going. And he did about 2 or 3 songs. He did one song that had more changes than I could play right now. He did, what was that, Joe? Darktown Strutter's Ball. You ever heard of that song?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He ripped that off. and my mother, she don't know what to say.
How old was he?
He was 11.
Wow.
And I said, Mama, if you'll get me one of them, I promise I'll learn how to play it. Well, my mother, bless her heart, she has about $20 a week grocery money for 5 people. And I didn't hear, he played, she just wore him out with it. And after he started, there was no bashful anymore. He'd step up.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, she said, the next day was Saturday. She got me up. She said, come on, we're going to go downtown. So we'll go downtown. She takes $9 out of that $20 she has grocery money and bought this.
Wow.
And this is what's left of it. Anyway, she bought that.
It's a beautiful harmony uke, and
Yeah.
I loved the era when they would, the Western motifs or the different,
right,
where they
yeah.
would paint them. Yeah.
This is 2 of the original strings on this guitar. And my sister's kids, they had fun with this while I was gone. I'd find it out in the yard, But anyway, it's still here. And this guy here, there wouldn't be anything. There's no telling where I would be, being poor like we were, a lot of people. No telling where I'd ended up, But he showed me how to play the ukulele. And each year, his mom would buy him another instrument. So the second year, all of this came from Sears and Roebuck's, and he got a mandolin, and his brother played fiddle. So he got a mandolin, so my mom bought me a Silvertone acoustic guitar.
Nice.
So we went and played Ragtime Annie and Wednesday Night Waltz and stuff on the mandolin. Well, a couple of years ago by, he gets an electric Silvertone guitar and a 212. I forget what it was. It might have been a Silvertone too. No reverb, but 212 amplifier. And he got a 2 pickup harmony guitar, and I got what's the little Fender with 1 pickup, dual sonic?
Yeah, or the Music Master, or
Yeah, it was the 1 pickup one.
Yeah.
I got that. And the first song he learned was Ventures, of course, like everybody else. Well, he learned, his ear was phenomenal, so he learned the whole song. Then he taught me the chords, like this. No, put your finger here, Don. But he stuck with me through all of that. And then we got a little band, and we were trying to think of a name. His mother loved Clark Gable, and he had a movie out called The Misfits.
Yeah.
And we took that name, and it was me and him and a little drummer named Timmy Looney. He was way younger than us, but he had a full set of drums. And we would tote his drums from his house 3 or 4 blocks away. and set them up in this little shotgun living room. Of course, David's mom and dad were working, and we'd go at the venture songs, And then we got in high school. We started doing the sock hop gym stuff and playing for somebody's birthday party free so we could play. And we added a bass player. Well, his grades got bad, so they wouldn't let him play no more. So we had to have a bass player. So I just quit playing guitar and started playing bass. Then we got a piano player, and he lives here. Dwight Scott was his name. Incredible B3 player he turned out to be later on. We went to that. And I'm making this real short because it's a long way to go. Dwight started with us, and the drummer was a rudimental champion that we had after the young guy. He was 2 years older than me, too. And we're all in high school. Dwight, what changed our life was the music back then. Booker T and the MGs, everybody had a B3 in Texas.
Right.
And that's 4 people picking that B3 up on dollies and carrying it up flights of stairs.
Yes, I've moved one before.
We didn't play without it.
Yeah.
A 122 Leslie and a B3.
That's because it's a sound. It's a wonderful sound.
And I got to see the band after they left Bob Dylan in a club in Oklahoma City called the Sundowners. That was a changer right there.
Yeah. So you saw
I saw the band in a room not a whole lot bigger than this.
Yeah.
Robbie Robertson, the whole thing. It was, and we were too young, me and David. We were 21. We couldn't get in there.
Yeah.
But the other 2 guys, they could get in. So we dressed in our band suits, the Beatles stuff, collarless blazer and little skinny. Anyway, we had that on. We had played the Air Force Base in Oklahoma City.
Okay.
The NCO club. We played all of those. And so I don't know how we even found out that it had to be the organ player because he had his nose to the grindstone and the ear open. He knew where everybody was. But we had heard the Hawks version of Who Do You Love?
Yeah, which is fantastic.
Yeah. So we were hooked, that guitar tone, and everybody wanted it. And David had a Telecaster.
Yeah.
And so we get in there at the club. They stop us at the door. And the organ player said, "Look, we're a band, and we was wondering if we could come in and hear, listen to the Hawks." And the guy said, "Well, how old are you?" And Dwight was old enough, and the drummer. And he said, "Well, you guys can come in, but boys, you can't come in." Boy, I thought I was going to cry because we've seen they're getting ready to play. They're standing up there, the heroes.
Yeah.
And especially the guitar player, Robbie, freak, for that one song.
Yeah.
So, we couldn't stop them from going. We just said, we'll just wait out here. We started out the door, and the guy working the door said, "Hey, wait a minute." He said, "I'll tell you what, guys. You go over there in that corner, and you stand. You don't do nothing. You stand right over there." So we
you stood like statues.
We're sitting over there with the Beatle look, and boy, they started, and it was right then was just changer for that band. That's all we did. That's all we wanted to do. They did Little Liza Jane in rounds, and we're just mouth dropping open. And Robbie Robinson and Rick Danko, me being a bass player, it was just a killer. The whole thing was. I was never the same after that.
Yeah.
And I would have been. I don't know what I'd started doing. But that guy let us come in and watch. Had he not done that, it was amazing. And not meeting this guy.
Yeah.
None of this would ever happen to me, I might have been in the penitentiary. I don't know.
You don't know where you'd be. So is that where some of the love of the Telecaster and the R&B, and of course they did a fair amount of R&B music and such. And I guess you were already kind of into Booker T and
we copied their version of Love Light. They did the Work song. You ever heard that song?
Yeah.
They did that, and it just killed us. We stole everything they had.
Yeah.
That we could, and the organ player being musically trained and a rudimental drummer could play anything. But after that, we rehearsed every damn day, every day. And we'd had to drag the B3 out and put it in somebody's house, load it back up and go play the Airmen's Club so we could work.
Yeah.
Yeah, hell, and when I was a senior in high school, I was making $90 a week. That was a lot of money.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was just a big change. But that, being able to go see those guys play, I mean, I could walk over and touch the organ. That's how close I was.
Yeah.
And that was a game changer for me, and they've been my favorite band ever since. Well, next question.
You just wind him up and he goes. I'm just gonna say right now for the viewing audience, know that we have a little bit of a peanut gallery here. We have Don's, and still the Kelley's heroes, bass player, Joe Fick, and we have his guitar player Luke McCreary, and of course we also have
say hi, everybody.
Yeah, you just say hi. Yes, and we also have the True Tone crew here. So okay, get us from playing kind of bass, playing R&B music, and get us into like playing with Joe Stampley and such. So get us there.
Okay, well, there's some funny stuff before that, but we'll
tell
pass
it.
on
No,
that.
tell it.
No, just
take
it. Where was I?
Well,
the band.
You had talked about the band, and who doesn't love the band? And also, there's such different eras of the band because the era that you saw them at, they were this high-powered, R&B
they were
group.
Dressed.
Yeah.
And this comes to a Vietnam story. I'll tell you that. Okay, they're in Edwardian suits. And they've all got this razor-blended style back. I called it dovetail haircuts. I mean, looked like George Jones' hair.
Yeah.
All of them. And no beards, none of that.
Yeah.
They all had pointed-toe Beatle boots. We from then on, we dressed like them. I mean, dressed like them every day.
Yeah. It didn't matter if you're just going to the grocery store. You're going to...
And what was the question? I lost my train of thought.
No, it was, we were talking about the band and how they had the different eras. Of course, there was the era when they were the Hawks and they were playing behind Dylan, and then, of course, you have the transition.
Well, you're talking about the guitar players they had. That thing they did with Ronnie Hawkins, that he taught them guys.
Yeah.
He told them what to do. Hell, Robbie Robinson wasn't even playing guitar. He was bass at first.
Yeah.
And he told them, it's showtime, boys.
And he made them rehearse. He was a taskmaster.
Oh, yeah. He was.
Did you learn from that?
Nah. When Brent and I were at the coach, we rehearsed one day a week. We had to learn one new song on the club owner,
Yeah.
Some slug piece of crap, but we did it,
Learn one new song a week. That's not too bad.
It's like you say that when I first heard them, that was my favorite. That was just awesome. And then, all right, from there, I played in a few different groups. So what happened was I got the guitar player, this guy. He was very smart. He was smart enough to know that he didn't want to do this for a living. I mean, we played the nightclub and stuff, and we made good money in high school. But after that, he went. There was a 4-year college in Wichita Falls, Midwestern. He went there. He wanted a degree in something.
Yeah.
And so he was in college. So he quit playing. Well, the Misfits, they kept the name. The organ player and the drummer, they kept the name. And they hired Carl Flick. Carl Flick taught me how to play Hideaway, or part of it. He is a big, heavyset guy, played the 335, monster guy. And he had a brother as a bass player. So they replaced me with his brother, and Carl played guitar, and the drummer had got this lead singer, Jimmy Harris, monster, Bobby Blue Bland, amazing singer. So they kept playing the military bases. Well, I'm in boot camp. I got drafted in 1967. And I get a letter in the mail. My mother said, son, you need to read this. So she handed it to me, and I swear, this is what that letter said. Your friends and neighbors have selected you. That was the first line, I swear to God. And it was a draft notice.
Yeah.
So,
your friends and neighbors
yeah,
have selected.
that's what it said.
That's not what you want.
And it gave a date for me to get on a bus with 3 other guys from Wichita Falls, go to Dallas, do the physical. Of course, they just felt my forehead and said, you're good, bud.
That's right.
And,
you're good to go. You're a warm body.
I got sent to Fort Polk, Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
And I had played that NCO club before that.
Yeah.
I knew Leesville, Louisiana. Horrible place. Anyway, I'm in basic training, and it was a 8 weeks basic training, 8 weeks whatever your MOS or your job, right. Whatever you're going to do. You either got light vehicles or Tigerland. Tigerland means next stop, Vietnam. Well, I go to the board after my second 8 weeks. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself. The drummer, Carl Flick, and his brother, and the lead singer are coming back from Oklahoma City. And the singer was driving. He fell asleep. They had a bridge bunker, killed them all but him. And me and the drummer were, and I couldn't go home, couldn't do nothing.
Yeah.
And boy, it devastated this guy. Because, I got drafted and he quit to go to school or would have been there.
Yeah.
One way or the other. So after that happened, the second 8 weeks of the Army was over, and you had to go to the bulletin board to find out which one you got.
Yeah.
Well, I went down there, and it said, Donald Joe Kelley, Fort Sill, Oklahoma. So I got light vehicles. I did my 8 weeks of light vehicles. I went to 48 miles from my hometown, right across the river, Red River, from Wichita Falls, is Lawton, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Boy, that's the breeding ground for some of the best R&B musicians everywhere comes through that town. There is a B and C Street with nothing but bars. And I was working in a message center at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, the rest of the first year in the Army. And I driving a truck, and I was playing music. I lived in Wichita Falls, get up at 4:30 in the morning, drive to Fort Sill, and do my day. I thought I was going to be the rest of my time in the Army. And I played a little downtown with some trios. So it was like a job. Of course, I had to have real short hair. So.
Yeah.
Well, I come into work, and I was working for an E9, a warrant officer, and a message center. I delivered mail to the post around there. And I go in there, and boy, he's got his head in his hands, and it looks like his dog died. And I said, "What's up, Sarge?" He said, "Well, I got a little bad news for you, Donald." And he said, "Come here." And so he has this long sheet of paper, and there's 1 million names on there. And down about midway is circled in red. Donald Joe Kelley, report to whatever it said, South Vietnam. Boy, my heart dropped.
Yeah.
And he said, Don, I thought you were going to be able to keep you here the whole time. He said, I had a month left before I had to go to San Francisco. So he said, "I tell you what, Don," said, "don't come back to work." He said, you stay home." He said, "This is your report date. Don't miss it, because I'll get in trouble." And I said, "I'll be there." Well, my brother is an Oakland, California police officer, and he lives right outside of San Francisco. He was in the Navy, and when he got out there, he married a girl, and he stayed there. And he was on the Oakland, the roughest police department in the United States.
Yeah.
I mean, so he meets me I'd never been on an airplane. I get on an airplane, and Dallas scared the hell out of me. So I got to San Francisco, and he was there, of course. And I never was hang out with my brother. I mean, we were brothers. And he was 2 years older. He had his friends, and I had this guy.
Yeah.
And but we were still brothers. And I got to tell this part. I had 3 days off, so he takes me to his house, and he has two little baby girls and his wife. And the third day come up, and it's time for me to go. So he takes me to the airport, and back then you flew commercial to Vietnam. I mean, they had stewardess, everything. And so we're standing at the gate, I'll never forget this. And he said, that I'd go for you if I could. Boy, I still think about it. But that was my brother. James Kelley is his name.
Yeah. That's quite the statement. "I'd go for you if I could."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boy.
Yeah.
Anyway, I go to Vietnam, and they got no place for me. I had no place for my MOS.
Yeah.
I get to Saigon, Thompson Nook Air Force Base, in a holding barracks. And every morning I got to report to formation to find out if they're sending me anywhere.
Yeah.
So 2 weeks ago, and I said, "Hell, send me home.
Yeah.
You don't need me over here." Well, about the first part of the third week, I go out there, and they say, "Kelley, step forward." And I go out there, and he said, "You're going to Da Nang, which is way up."
Yeah.
And so you report tomorrow. You get on the bus. They take you to the flight line, and you go. So that next morning, I get up and I get on a bus. It's just me on this bus, and the bus driver.
That's spooky.
And it's just a regular school-looking bus, military course. Well, there's no windows in this bus. There's concertina wire all around this bus, which is barbed wire.
Yes.
And I mean, it's just everywhere. And I'm sitting up by the driver. I'm sitting this way, and he's driving this way. And he is hardcore. His fatigues are just faded out. He's dark as that table from the sun. And he didn't say 2 words to me, nothing. So finally I said, "Can I ask you a question?" I said, "What is all this wire? There's no windows in here, this wire." He said, "Well, you don't want them pitching a hand grenade in here, do you?" I said, "No, I don't." That's all he said to me. And so I get to the airport, and they put me on a C-130, which scared the living hell out of me, too.
That's a huge plane.
Yeah. And no seat. You sit on the floor. And I go to Da Nang, which is further on up there.
Which is closer to the bad
Another
action.
holding barracks. Yeah. And I get in there, and I stay 3 or 4 days, and go to the next one. "We don't have any place for you, son. So you're going back to Chu Lai." So backtrack. So I get to Chu Lai, and they still don't need me, so they put me driving a Colonel. Oh, I hated that.
Yeah.
You report, you sit there in his office, which was a Quonset hut, and you don't budge unless he wants to go somewhere.
Yeah.
So
you're just waiting on the bird.
And he was the hatefulest man. I was scared to death, and he was just so hateful. You drive him somewhere, and he won't say a word, nothing. So the old sergeant that I had, he said, "Don, do you like what?" I said, "Hell no." He said, "Well, he wants to get somebody else, a higher rank." And I said,
Yeah.
that's fine with me. So he put me in a motor pool. And I stayed there my whole year. And I had a little office in the back of a 2.5-ton truck. And if somebody took a vehicle out of there, I had to write it down. That was it. That was my job. Except for guard duty, every 2 weeks, I had to go to the bunker line, which was the South China Sea. I don't know, it might have been every 200 or 300 yards was a bunker, faced the ocean. And over here is tree lines all the way around here, trees over here. And you had to go out there and sit all night. But, I don't have no war stories, I was fine.
Well,
And
that's good.
yeah, I don't have none of that
Yeah.
stuff. The worst thing I saw was body bags on the flight line. Now, I didn't like that much.
That's
But Vietnam, I was there. This Mike O'Neill and sent me a Rolling Stone, and on the cover was the band. You seen that cover?
yeah. Yeah.
And I said, that ain't the damn band.
Yeah, because all of a sudden they had beards and longer hair. And
Well, I knew that I didn't even know they weren't calling themselves the Hawks yet.
Right.
This is 1967, the first part of 68
Yeah.
in Vietnam. And the Rolling Stones, they're on the cover, they got the beards and hair. And I said, that ain't the band. And it said that they had music from Big Pink was out.
Yeah.
And so as soon as I got home, I got that 8-track. After I bought a 64 Corvette. My mother, I sent all my money home and she saved it for me.
Well, that worked out well for you.
But I put that CD in there and I thought, what the hell is that?
Yeah, because it's so different than what they'd been doing before.
Like
It was
that.
night and day.
I wanted to hear Love Line and all
Yeah.
that. And I said, oh, hell, that ain't working. I don't like that at all.
Yeah.
And then I listened to it a little more, and I didn't become a fan for a while.
Yeah.
I was disappointed. I mean, heartbroken, and so was David. We wanted to hear that, and then I listened to it a little more, and the weight, and then finally I was hooked, and I got the chance to see them in Nashville. They played Nashville without Robbie, and it was Levon and Garth and Rick, and they had a guitar from Arkansas. He played good. He played what was on the records.
Yeah.
And had another drummer. And when Levon would come out and play this man, this other guy, and he was a good too.
Yeah.
And it was they could get 400 or 500 people in that building down on Second, and it was just a concert kind of place. Cement floor, no tables, none of that. And my girlfriend, who has been my lifelong companion since then, got me tickets. I was right down front. I mean, right there. And of course, Rick Dinkel's one of my favorites, being a bass player, and Levon. And that was a highlight there. So I got to see him twice.
Yeah. So you get back from Vietnam, you get your Corvette, you listen to the band and stuff. So, and I'm assuming you get back into playing music.
Yeah, I'm playing with a guy named Richard Young, another high school buddy, but he was a bass player. And he's since passed away a couple of weeks ago, but a lifelong friend too. And he said, now, we could do a trio. I said, what are we going to do, 2 basses?
Yeah.
He said, no, you can play enough guitar, you can do this. So I borrowed it. I didn't have a guitar, I borrowed one. I got a picture of that, but I don't know who I got it from. And we started playing these little clubs there in Wichita Falls. And we did that for a while. And I'm trying to figure what was after that. I played with 2 or 3 other little bands, local, that played the military bases, because we could always work. Well, I had a band with a great B3 player. His name was Hap Pendleton. And we had a trio. He played bass here.
Right.
So I was still playing, if you want to call it, lead guitar. It's mostly the chords he showed me. I don't know shit about music. Oh, excuse me.
You're okay.
Yeah. Anyway, we got a good little trip because he's a great singer, and he can lay it in over here. In some way, he had that lower manual where he can run it through a bass amp, so it's kicking ass over there.
Yeah, it's really punchy.
And the drummer, he's passed away too. His name was James Hart. He played drums and harmonica. I know. He kept the hi-hat going and the bass drum going and would just play the hell out of a blues harmonica. And that's all we did, that old R&B stuff.
Yeah, that's great.
Well, Hap calls me on the phone. I'm staying at my mama's house, and he said, Don, man, I can't do this anymore. I said, what's the matter? Because we're doing pretty good with that little trip. It was called Flash. And he said, man, I played with this guy. We was in Vietnam. I played with these guys called Salt and Pepper. I said, Salt and Pepper. He said, yeah, they're an R&B duo, a black guy, a white guy, and a five-piece band. He said, and boy, they offered me a lot of money to come back on the road. And boy, that broke my heart. I was just getting home, and I was playing, and everything was going good. My hair was growing out a little bit.
Yeah.
And he was on the phone with this lead singer. Bill Bagby was his name, black guy. Played every instrument on the bandstand and told you when you wasn't playing it right. He was an incredible musician and dance and sing. Anyway, he calls Hap back and says, Hap, I need you to come, but the bass player's leaving. Do you know any bass player? And by then, say I'm getting ahead of myself again. After I first got home, Mike O'Neill calls me. He's playing with Jerry Don Fisher. Jerry Don Fisher is who they hired to take David Clayton Thomas's place with Blood, Sweat, and Tears.
Right.
You know, he got deported. Well, Jerry Fisher ended up in that band. Well, anyway, Fisher had a band called the Night Beats. It's another Hawks thing. Here's what they had. Jerry Don Fisher was the lead singer, red-headed, freckle-faced guy he's from Texas, but he lived in Oklahoma City all his life. The best R&B singer I ever heard.
Wow.
The best. Anyway, he had a B3 player, Larry Judd Pierce, played B3, left-handed bass. And he had trumpet, tenor sax, and trombone. That's it. That's the band. No guitar, no bass. Incredible
Wow.
band. We followed them like we did the band. Everybody. And I saw him in Dallas 2 or 3 times. Well, while I was in Vietnam, Mike O'Neill gets the guitar job. Still no bass. And he sends me a letter right before I ETS'd out of the Army. Hey, I'm playing with Jerry Fisher. And I'm going, unbelievable. And so I get home, I'm playing with Richard, and we're doing the club thing. And I got ahead of myself. I don't remember the order.
That's fine.
He said, boy, Bill Bagby says that he needs a bass player. He said, I got to call him back. And I said, well, so you're going for sure? He said, yeah. And I ain't got a job. I'm living with my mom. I said, well, what do you think? He said, let me call him back. He calls him back and said, hey, Bill, I've got Jerry Fisher's bass player in here because I'd got the gig with Fisher. And Mike O'Neill calls me first and says, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm getting them backwards. I played with Fisher in the Night Beats before Salt and Pepper. That's what I'm getting backwards. Mike O'Neill calls me and says, Fisher's hiring a bass player and they're going to audition bass players in Dallas. I don't even have a bass. Richard Young's got a bass, but I don't have one. So, and Richard's a big Jerry Fisher fan too. We all were. And I said, I need a favor. And he said, what's that? I need to borrow your bass. And him and Mike O'Neill, we all grew up together. And he said, what do you need the bass for? I said, well, Mike called me and wants me to audition for Fisher. Boy, his face just dropped. Bless his heart. You know, because him and O'Neill big friends too. And he's a bass player.
Yeah.
And he gave it to me. So I get in my Corvette. I drive to Dallas, Texas to a studio they had rented. And they're auditioning bass players. I go in there and there's 3 bass players out in the hall. And I knew 2 of them. Monster. One of them's guy's name was Curly. And I'll never forget him. I said, well, this guy's got this. What the hell am I even doing here?
Yeah.
But I had Mike O'Neill. They had the whole band set up in the studio. And they're calling these guys in there one at a time. And after this Curly, I went in and auditioned. I was ready to go and go home. Well, they come out there, this Larry, organ player, and he said, okay, Don, come on in, play a couple. Well, I go in there and they pick 2 songs. And the 2 songs they picked, I knew every one. One was Chicken Shack. You remember that old song?
Yeah.
Old instrumental. I played that all my life with bands. And Chitlets Carney was the other one.
Yeah.
I knew both those songs, you know, and nothing else. But I took a Richards bass in there and played those 2 songs and went back out in the hallway. And a few minutes, the organ player came out and said, well, how long would it take you to get your clothes ready? We're going to Wisconsin on Friday, and we'd like you to go with us. And
you got the gig.
I like to tore that Corvette up, get back to Wichita Falls, and get in my clothes. And I went on the road with those guys. The organ player taught me those tunes on a melodica in a hotel room.
Yeah.
You know, you're looking at a guy that didn't know any music. You know, I didn't know any music, and none. And he taught me. He would sit there in a motel room with that melodica, and he said, "Play this, Don." And you know, here's this line right here, and
wow.
But he taught me about Fisher's whole show in the motel room, and plus I had Mike O'Neill who helped me a lot. I did that for 2 years, and Jerry Fisher got hepatitis, and we're out of work, and me and O'Neill went with there was another R&B band called Sound Circus in Oklahoma. Monster, horns, really good band. The drummer had kept the band together, and he wanted O'Neill and me out of Fisher's band. So I rehearsed with that band for a while. That fell through. And being with Jerry Fisher opened a lot of doors when, you know, I knew everybody in Dallas. And after Jerry Fisher, I was back in Wichita Falls. And Hap gets the call from Salt and Pepper. And they need a bass player. So Hap says, I got Jerry Fisher's old bass player. And Bill said, bring him. So I go up there with Hap, load his organ up, and we go to Wisconsin, and then I've got to learn their show. They did 2 show sets and 2 dance sets. The band did the dance set. And Hap, you know, a great singer, knew all of that dance music, and I knew his music because I played with him. And that was another horn band, trumpet and tenor sax. Well, Bill and Danny Handley was the white guy. There was a group called the Outsiders. They had a hit song called "Time Won't Let Me." I think it was the Outsiders. He was the lead singer in that band. And then we got this pretty long-haired white boy and a dancing fool black guy, and they do an hour show. And we're backing them. I mean, they're doing Otis Redding and all that cool stuff, you know, fun to play, horn stuff. And then they set 2 makeup tables facing each other, you know, the lighted makeup table.
Yeah.
Then they come out and they're in these white tuxedo things, and they're facing each other. Well, they're singing Somewhere There's a Place for Us, and the black guy's painting his face white, and the white guy's painting his face black. And the whole time they're singing this song. And then at the end of the song, they stand up and they do this together. Yeah. And one of them was black now, the other one was white now. Well, the people just go nuts over this show. So they stayed booked everywhere.
Wow.
And that was a fun band. And we go to the Caribbean Hilton in San Juan, Puerto Rico for 3 months. And we're in the lounge, and the main act room, Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons.
Okay. Yeah.
And they got a barn-burning Telecaster player in that band. So everybody's around there, and they come over to the lounge to hear us, and we go stand in the side and watch Frankie Valli. And so the guitar player got to be friends with everybody in the band, and that was a great show. And I got pictures of it. I should have bought some of them, but that thing with Salt and Pepper was a good thing. Well, they break up over there. And so here I'm stuck, married. I married a girl from Fort Wayne, Indiana. And I'm married and no job.
It's not a good place to be. Yeah.
No, not at all. Well, the drummer in Salt and Pepper was from Tyler, Texas. Robin Hood Bryan Studios in Tyler, Texas.
Okay.
ZZ Top. Anyway, he said, Don, what are you going to do? I said, damn, I don't know. I have no idea. I'm not in touch with nobody anymore. I've been on the road for 2 years with them. So he says, hey, I'm going to get a hold of Mouse. I said, who's Mouse? He said, Mouse and the Traps. And then he said, Bugs Henderson. Well, right away, I knew who they were.
Yeah.
And he said, David Stanley was a bass player in Mouse then. They had to shorten it to Mouse. And Bugs had moved on to Dallas and had the Bugs Henderson Trio. And he said, well, hell, they got a sit-down job right outside of Tyler, and it's $250 a week, 5 nights. I said, shit, sign me up. So I fly from Puerto Rico to Fort Wayne, Indiana, and that's where my wife lives at the time. And I got very little money and no car. Her dad gives me his dad's '62 Buick that he never drove. He inherited. He said, Don, you can take this car down there, and when you get settled, I'll come and get it. So I pack her up, and we go to Tyler, Texas. I didn't know anybody but Nardo Murray. That's the drummer, and he is the character. This guy is a great drummer. And me playing with Jerry Fisher, who Mouse knew, and Salt and Pepper, he also knew. He just took me. He said, bring him.
Yeah.
And that's the second job I got on somebody else's recommendation. So we get down there, and it's a pretty damn good band. And, of course, I didn't know any of their stuff either. But Mouse, he takes me to his house and shows me everything I need to play. And David Stanley, I got to say something about this guy. He's one of the best Fender bass players I ever heard. I mean, bass up here and just wears it out. He's a monster. But he moved to Dallas at that time. So I take that bass gig, I play with Mouse. Well, we get the big gasoline crunch. Couldn't get gas.
Right.
So we couldn't get to Dallas to play. We couldn't get to Shreveport to play. Well, Joe Stampley's got a hit record. And Mouse played with him in the Uniques. Joe had a rock and roll band.
Yeah.
And Mouse had been that guitar player for a while. So Joe Stampley comes to see us with Salt and Pepper somewhere. And he said, bring Don. Because his brother was his bass player. And for some reason, he had to get off the road. I don't want to get into that, none of my business.
Yeah.
So Joe texts me, and I played with Joe, me and Mouse, 2 guitar players. I had Daryl Pewitt on guitar. He was 18 years old then, from East Tennessee, brought up bluegrass, but could play Chicago music, their horn lines on the Telecaster.
Yeah.
I have to say something about these guys because there's so many of them that you never heard of.
Yeah.
He's just a monster. So Mouse said, we need to take that gig. So me and Mouse and Nardo were going to do a trio and try to make some money because, I got a wife and a new baby by then. Corey, that was my son, who now lives in Florida, where I live, in Gainesville, who built his house in Dallas. I got to say that about my son. He built me a house.
A gift.
What's that?
Well, I brought you a die cut.
Oh, hell, I can use that. Oh, well, I definitely got to have that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's great.
Last time me and JD went fishing, he had got Jimmy Vaughn's album.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, let me
Yeah.
fix your mic there so it's not.
Oh,
there you
I'm
go.
sorry.
You're
Oh,
good.
yeah.
You're good.
That's that's everything he's ever done.
That's amazing.
On
Thank
CD.
you very much.
On
I
CD.
appreciate that.
And there's some cool shit in there, but there's a magazine with all his cars too.
Oh, yeah.
It's really
yeah.
cool. So
And his boots.
and his
Yeah, right.
But no,
That's awesome.
Yeah, right.
I've actually been here the whole time.
Is that right?
He's been hiding.
I'm trying to remember that.
I'm great.
Have you really been here the whole time?
Yep, I was in there. I've loved hearing it all.
What's in the box?
It's a Jimmy Vaughn box set.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I got to hold this up and tell them about this.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's cool. But yeah, but it's cool. It looks like an old Fender amp, and there's 5 CDs in there.
Oh, great.
And there's even the first disc is stuff from even before the first Thunderbirds record,
Really?
and it's the original band, and it's just what can you say?
Yeah, yeah.
It's the best there ever was.
It-
No, I figured Doc Coke and Jimmy Vaughn, 2 things I know he'll love.
Getting to see the Hawks and getting to see Stevie Ray twice, getting to see all of those great players from that area in Dallas and Fort Worth and Wichita Falls and Oklahoma City. People don't realize the music scene right in that area, right there, right across the river from each other. Lawton, Oklahoma, some of the best R&B bands in the world.
Doing the push.
Yeah.
Doing the push and
Just wanting to play that black music and could play it. Really good stuff.
good to see you too.
Thanks, man.
Anyway, I knew I was gonna come and try and surprise you.
Yeah.
And like I said, I just figured those are 2 things that you wouldn't hate and that would be just fun.
So you start playing with Joe Stampley. And so is that how you end up moving to Nashville?
That's it. Joe had several top 10, I think a couple of number 1s while I was with him. And Al Gallico was his manager, who was really smart guy, I guess.
Yeah.
He saw something in Joe and tuck it up. Anyway, Joe said, guys, I'm moving to Nashville, and if you want to keep the gig, you got to move. Well, my wife's folks from Fort Wayne, Indiana. She's all about that.
Yeah,
That's midways at least.
Right. You're at least closer. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I didn't want to, I wanted to play with Mouse, but there was no Mouse anymore.
Yeah.
He quit Joe Stampley in Vegas. They had a little falling out. I don't know what that was about. But Mouse was my partner, boy, and the next one he was up and gone. He got on an airplane and flew back to Tyler. And of course we had 2 guitar players, so we still played. But boy, I didn't know what to do when Mouse left.
Yeah.
Because we were like, that every day with fishing or playing or Mouse is a character.
Yeah. So tell me about you you'd really gotten into, you know, R&B music, and you were playing bass, and then all of a sudden you're playing with a, you know, a country artist, and you're moving to Nashville. And that just seems like a certain level of a little bit of culture shock there, you know.
Well, I grew up from Texas. My mother, big Bob Wills fan,
Yeah.
big time, and my mom and dad two-step, and they loved country music. You know, I didn't like it at all back then.
Yeah.
There's a funny story. There's a country singer. He's a legend in Wichita Falls. Played around, and his name bothers me. But we would run on to this guy in a music store. We'd all hang out, look at whatever was new. But he would come in there, and he would come up to us, and he wore those old baggy dress pants, you know. He'd have a pocket full of change in there, and he'd come up and rattle that chain in, and he'd say, "You boys play some country music, you ought to have some of this too." He made fun of all of us.
You'd be big time like me if you just...
You can't get nowhere playing that crap.
So you moved to Nashville. So what year is this?
I think 75 or 6.
Okay.
And I moved here. I had a new baby. He was a little bitty guy, and we got a little house out by the lake in Nashville. And my wife, she could get a job anywhere.
Yeah.
And she went to work, and I was gone from Thursday to Monday most of the time with Joe. He was hot.
Yeah.
You know, and then the Mo and Joe thing was really going.
Right. Mo Banding.
And and when that hit, I got to do the Grand Ole Opry, and one part I got to sing Mo's part on some show. You know, when Mouse left, it just wasn't the same. But this Darryl Pewitt guy I tried to tell you about, he was just a monster musician. Just one of them guys, if he could hear it, he could play it.
Wow.
You know, he was really good. And he turned out to be, he went back to school, and I think he's a school teacher. A big East Tennessee boy. Great player. And Joe Stampley, I'm done with Joe Stampley, so I'm out of work again. And I'm thinking about calling Mouse and going to Texas. I did a single downtown on Broadway for Robert Moore, who at that time, the Merchant Hotel, you know where the Merchant restaurant, it was a hotel, a flea bag. Robert Moore was the manager.
And again, this is the Robert Moore that you get the name Roberts
That's
from.
right.
Okay.
But he didn't own nothing.
Yeah.
He was just a manager and a bouncer, and he would bounce you. Anyway, but he liked me. He was a good man. He knew who I was, and I was. I just can't get the order right of things happening. There's so much.
Well, let's just get up to the Stagecoach then. You know, like, so you kind of played a variety of you know, playing as a single or in little groups, and so you get to the Stagecoach, and Brent Mason's already in the band, correct?
Yeah, that's where we have to start at. Mike Smith was his name, the drummer. It was his gig. I'd met him down at Demon's Den, which was, here's a Merchant Hotel. Mm-hmm. Next door is a shotgun bar where everybody that had a road gig showed up to jam on Mondays because they would come in off the road on Sunday, all of them. Jimmy Dickens, you know, all of his band, Ernest Tubbs' band, all the time down at Demon's Den. I stumbled in that club one night, and I was befriended by this drummer who sings incredible. He lives in Oregon now. His name's Mike Smith. Hell of a drummer and a Merle Haggard singing fool. Anyway, one of the guys that was jamming that night said, "Don, come on up and sing." So I sang a Merle Haggard song. Well, when I got down, he came and said, "Boy, I like that song. You did a good job on that song." And we became good friends. He has a gig. I'm leaving out Gabe's and all of that stuff because we're trying to get to this. He said, what are you doing now? I was out of work. I said, well, I'm thinking about going home. And he said, well, I hate to hear you say that. He said, I got a gig over there and the bass player's moving back to Texas. He said, it's a sit-down gig and it's a lounge in a motel lounge. So this place seated, you might get 50, 60 people in there, period.
Yeah.
It's in a motel lounge.
Yeah.
There's an office here, here's a little lounge. So he says, you come out there and play, it's $250. And you can work on Sundays if you want to. So I go down there and it's me, Brent Mason, George Jones, old piano player, David Byrd, monster piano player. And it just happened. It was good, you know. I had seen Brent out at Gabe's sit in, and I knew who he was.
Yeah.
And Mike Smith and Brent and David Byrd, that was 4 of us.
Yeah.
And
Is Brent still playing that Hagstrom Suite
a
guitar?
piece of shit.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's okay. It's a
anyway,
Hagstrom. You can say that.
anyway, yeah, he was. We're playing. Everything's going good. You know, it's really good. Well, Mike, bless his heart, he got into it with the club owner too. And
Yeah.
Mike Smith's a no nonsense. He ain't taking nothing he don't think he deserves. But anyway, the club owner doesn't want him anymore. So he comes to me. I'd been there about 3 or 4 months. Well, I did this one old Waylon tune called Choking Kind. He loved that song. And every night I had to do it every set, every night. So he comes to me and he said, Don, I'm letting Mike go. And I thought, what? Because this guy can sing his ass off behind the drums.
Yeah.
And a hell of a drummer. Anyway, he said, now, I'll tell you what. You can keep who you want to, and you can let go who you want to, because this is your band. Well, I had no place to go. Now, I didn't like it because me and Mike was close.
Yeah.
And I felt bad about it. And so I said, well, I had a friend called Paul Cook.
Yeah, great drummer.
He's probably the best I ever heard.
Jerry
As
Reed.
far as bass players, being a bass player, he's the best I ever.
Yeah.
He's just phenomenal feel and like a freight train. I mean, you better keep up if you're going to play with Paul. Anyway, so I get Paul Cook. Boy, then the band is up another notch. It's Brent Mason, David Byrd playing an electric piano, which I liked, you know. I mean, that band was, people started hanging out. You know, it'd be full of musicians every night.
So fate came into play in that by taking the original drummer out, who was doing a lot of the singing, all of a sudden it becomes your band. All of a sudden you are pushed into the position of being the front man, and all of a sudden things start to come into place.
Yeah. But I had Brent, who can sing too.
Yeah.
Brent's a good singer.
Yeah, he is.
Anyway, but the thing that club owner, and he had a lot to do with this. He liked what I did, and he said, "I just want you to do a couple of songs that are current." So we'd go out there and learn. Hank Jr. he was hot, so you know we learned all of that stuff, and of course Alabama, we did that stuff. And people loved it, but Brent could sing anything. David Byrd, we get David Byrd.
You alluded to something, you know, before that Brent Mason also, when I spoke with him, he also said that there were just so many musicians that were coming out to the shows, and he said that even Chet Atkins would come out and he would bring like George Benson.
Now, that was at the big stagecoach. We ain't moved there yet.
Okay.
We're still in that little old 50 capacity lounge.
Right.
And I mean, musicians all over town, you know. Back then, Nashville, they had a house band in all these bars.
Right.
You know, that shit don't happen no more.
No.
And there'd be house bands all over down the street, and all the Holiday Inns had 4-piece bands, 6 nights or 7 nights a week.
Right.
And the club owner comes to me and he said, I'm going to buy another building right down the street. We're going to move. So first, Dave Rowe brings, Paul Cook goes with Ray Stevens.
Okay.
And he'd already played with Jerry Reed and all that. He goes to Ray Stevens, and I'm out a drummer again. Dave Rowe had been coming in there, and he brings Artie in. They played together in Hawaii.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, in those Hawaiian lounges, lounge acts,
Yeah.
But I knew Dave Rowe, not very well, but I knew Dave, and he brings Artie in. And I forget, I think I let him sit in, or I had him to come in on Sunday or something. But he played good, and he sang good, sing high harmony. I mean, sing the lights out of it. So we all moved to the big stagecoach. David Byrd brings a full grand piano out of his house to the stagecoach. But, David didn't last long after that. But in the meantime, all this happening, the club owner produces an album on me. And he lets David Byrd produce it. Well, we go out to Hendersonville and do this album. 2 or 3 songs I wrote. And, he
covers,
takes David Byrd's married to Mary Lou Turner. All the duets you hear with Whispering Bill Anderson,
Okay.
that's Mary Lou Turner on a couple of the hits.
Yeah.
And he also had another lady sing with him. Anyway, Byrd says, I'm going to get you a deal, man. I know them all.
Yeah.
So this club owner spends, I don't forget, $7,000-8,000 for this session. And I'm green as gourd. I don't know anything about that.
Yeah.
I don't even want to do it. But, everybody thinks, one record and I could make some money. I was just getting used to being out front and saying, do this, don't do that.
Yeah. You were just learning how to be a frontman.
Yeah.
And it sounds like this album that you were creating, was that something more to have stuff to sell at the show?
No,
or
I
something
thought
like
I was going to be a star.
Okay. But then you were thinking, this is kind of like this is to help me get a deal.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
I got you.
So I go out there and do it, and I'm embarrassed. I don't like what I did, but they did it, and they used a couple of, a steel player that was a session player and a guitar player. I don't remember the names because I never cared for what they did, so I don't remember. But I didn't hear nobody. He pitched that album, he said, and didn't get no, didn't shake no bushes, I guess. Nobody wanted it or whatever. And so I forgot about it. Well, he leaves the band. So I get Paul Hollowell. He played with me for a while. And I had Drew Sexton on keyboard. He passed away, bless his heart. He and David Byrd are from Oneida, Tennessee.
Okay.
The gospel piano players. Monster, both of them.
Yeah.
And then it was me and Brent, and Brent wanted me to quit playing bass and get Jimmy Carter.
Yeah.
And he said, Don, Jimmy plays fiddle. Boy, I said, all right. So I get Jimmy Carter, and he can play fiddle, but he don't like play fiddle. Jimmy's a real laid-back guy. He don't step up. He's just real polite and real laid-back, but great musician. So I got Jimmy Carter on bass. I'm playing acoustic guitar, and Artie on drums, and Drew Sexton on piano. Man, that's a hell of a band right there.
Yeah.
But we're doing covers.
Yeah. And so Brent was the reason that you switched from bass to guitar.
Well, no, I'm not blaming him.
No. But
I wanted to stand up front.
Yeah.
I don't want to be stuck on the bass. You can't make no mistakes on the bass. You can't talk and yell and talk to the crowd and and play bass at the same time.
It's hard.
You know, I could drop the acoustic guitar a couple because nobody knows.
Right. Yeah.
So I did that, and Jimmy Carter, he brought a lot to the ball game. He was such a monster, but, you know, this thing here was in.
Oh, the slapping and
Oh,
popping.
I hated
Yeah.
that shit.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't do it. You know. Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, that was a simple. But boy, he could wear it out.
Yeah.
And him and Brent, they did Billy's Bounce, and they twinned it.
Wow.
He played that on the bass. And then we did Devil Went Down to Georgia. He played the fiddle. Well, we didn't lose nothing because I had a bass. I kept it set up.
Yeah.
Anytime Jimmy played the fiddle, I played bass. All the 4/4 shuffle things, Jimmy kicked them off. Heart Over Mine, all of that old good Ray Price stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And people loved it. They're two-stepping their ass off around that little
Yeah. People love the fiddle.
But
especially on-
Jimmy's not a 6-note weaker. Yeah, he didn't like that. And plus, he was getting a few sessions.
Yeah.
Because of his great steel player. His brother, Gary Carter, plays
Yeah.
with Marty Stewart and Marty's wife.
Yes.
But after Jimmy left, I got another great singer, Rod Ham,
Yeah.
he played with the Cats, Nashville Cats.
Wow.
Rod Ham, great band. And he's singing like a bird, boy. And he played in the band about a good year and a half. And then I'm starting to switch guitar players.
Right.
This is a great story. Larry Lee, Mel Tillis's bass player, he's hanging out at the Stagecoach. He loved Brent. And he got to be a bigwig because he managed Lee Greenwood.
Okay.
He heard Lee Greenwood in Vegas and got him to come to Nashville. So he got big time. Well, all the demo session stuff, he said, man, we got to get this Brent Mason. So Brent starts getting this work from Larry. I mean, he's working every day and then playing every night.
Yeah.
That didn't sit too well with his wife. So Brent, he had to quit. You know, he couldn't do both and keep his family life together, I guess.
Yeah.
So
and I want you to hit upon, you know, because this story's been told a bunch, but I mean, there's the story of how, you know,
the guitar.
The guitar, just in, what's your side of the story in that?
Yeah, I don't remember like he did. I had that guitar first. I was using it on Sunday nights.
Yeah.
And because I played guitar on Sunday night, and I think I had Becky Henson playing bass and singing with me. I think that, I don't know, she knew more than me. And we had another piano player, and God forbid I can't think his name because he was another monster.
Oh.
Yeah, but I just can't think.
You've done great. So I mean, you've rattled off a million
but
names.
there's one thing about
yeah.
this guy I got to say. He played electric cordless piano, the one with the reeds.
Yeah.
He put a 5-string banjo on top of it. In the middle of truck driving, man, he quits playing piano and picks up the banjo and just burned it. And he worked for a little while at the little Stagecoach, me and Becky. Well, I'm playing that old silver guitar. Brent's playing that piece of the Hagstrom.
Yes,
And,
the piece of Hagstrom. Yeah.
And I said, man, you need to get a Fender guitar, man. You're a wonderful player, but you know, this ain't gonna take you nowhere. You got to get a Telecaster. And so I think he started using mine.
Yeah.
And he finally used it more and more. Well, I found a bass I wanted out at, there was a music store in town, there was 5 of them. They were everywhere. Hughley's.
Hughley's, yeah.
Hughley's.
Yes.
And I was out there, and they had a real old jazz bass, I think. Oh, I wanted it.
Yeah.
And the only way I could get them was trade. And I didn't have the money to have both. And I told Brent, I'm taking this out to trade it. You better get it. And if I remember right, I traded that bass in, and he got it that way. But he remembers it different.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And it matters not to me.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
look where it took him.
That's right.
But I mean, it was almost a you either had a Telecaster or you don't work. You know, that was just part of it.
So it made a difference in its
Oh,
sound.
hell,
And
it was
everything.
an incredible difference. And it was stock, you know, just like it came.
Yeah, it didn't have all the extra junk
Oh,
on it. that's
no,
on
and
it.
in the middle of pickup or the humbucker.
For those of y'all in TV land, he's staring down Luke. You know,
Wait till I get to his story.
oh, it's
Or his.
or Joe's.
Anyway,
Okay,
yeah.
so
Boy,
Brent-
the Brent,
yeah.
when he got that guitar, it was daylight and difference.
Yeah.
Man, it was. But I think he had a twin reverb. He's too damn loud. He's always too loud.
Yeah.
They all are, and me included.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's no tone in a Fender amp if you don't crank it.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's a little one or a big one.
Yeah.
So, boy, I mean, we had at that time we had Paul Cook and Brent and David. No, we didn't have David Bird. We were already at the big stagecoach, so
Yeah.
Paul Cook was gone. Ray Stapleton had already. But and we were doing the top 40 stuff, whatever's out there.
Yeah.
But I never let go of the stuff I did before Joe Stampley come on. The truck driving man, everybody's talking that old song,
Yeah.
and every Merle Haggard song in the world. And back then I had a little bit of that old Texas edge in my voice. It's been gone for years from work, but you know, people liked them tunes, and we didn't do them like the record. I mean, you had to play the signature licks, but when it's your time to solo, you bet it's time to say something. And boy, you didn't have to beg none of them.
Yeah.
And Brent, man, he just was, and then turn around and do George Benson. The first time I heard him scat over the microphone, I was going. Yeah, and it was really a good man. Drew Sexton. He played bluegrass, but he played his solos with one finger. I mean, he's this kind of piano player with that bass line up your ass, you know. But when he's doing the bluegrass, he's like a damn guitar player. But I mean, you couldn't lose Drew Sexton. He was right there.
Yeah.
Another sing like a bird guy.
Yeah. One thing you hit upon, you were saying Brent like a twin reverb. So at some point in here, I hope we're able to get upon how much that where your repertoire starts kind of coming together as far as the song choices, and then also how you would tell guitar players like, you know, that amp's too loud, or you get the right amp or tone, because you've always been into tone.
Well, if I get any flack from the guy we're working with who's paying the bills, you know, if it gets too loud, you know, and it was always too loud, but, you know, I wasn't going to sacrifice too much.
Yeah.
You know, if it don't sound good to me, it don't sound good to anybody else. And me being around the Mike O'Neills and the Bugs Hendersons and Ronnie Weiss and Mouse and you either going to have a crowded club that come to hear these guys play, or you're going to have a shit band and you ain't going to make no money, and neither am I.
Yeah.
And Lower Broadway's completely different from the Stagecoach now. We didn't have a tip juk
Right.
to Stagecoach, you know.
How does the kind of the Telecaster and kind of Fender amp kind of become the model of what you kind of push the guys toward, just like you did kind of with Brent and others, that kind of becomes the ideal?
That would be with all the way back to this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first thing he got was first good guitar he got was a 62 or 3 Stratocaster.
Yeah.
And we saw Robbie Robinson. He had a Telecaster.
Right.
So he traded that some bitch in the next day, I guess. He got a Telecaster.
Yeah.
And everybody was going to him. Nashville, they were going to him too. The chicken picking, that's all started. Roy Buchanan, those guys, they took that Telecaster.
Yeah.
And
But like a guy like JD, when he joined up the band, he had like Dr. Z amps and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
you kind of said, hey, let's
Yeah.
get a Fender.
Yeah, he went to see Red in Austin,
Yeah,
and he went to that little music store and he bought that deluxe reverb.
yeah,
And when he came back, it was a no-brainer, man. And he quit using a lot of gadgets
Yep.
because you turned that something, but you didn't need it.
yeah.
JD's a monster tone guy. Yeah, ain't no doubt about that. And Copycat over here is a monster tone guy too.
Yes, he is.
He
Yes.
paid attention.
Yes.
When we get to him, I got to tell you that
Yeah.
story.
So so let's get back kind of in the timeline. So Brent leaves, and then you start.
Oh,
you start
here's
having
the guy. The next guy comes. All right, Barbara Mandrell. She had a car wreck.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, a year she was off. She had a guitar player from Richmond, Virginia, named Sid Hudson.
Yeah.
Bebop fool. But he also loved country music. He played steel guitar and Telecaster. He played steel guitar with a flat pick.
Oh wow.
Oh, yeah. So he said, Brent's leaving. And I've heard Sid a million times. I said, Sid, we need somebody to play guitar and steel. Okay, he jumped on it. He didn't have a job either. And he was a monster, man. He just chicken pick, burn that, burn any kind of jazzy song. I mean, him and Brent, the beboppers. I mean, rip it.
Yeah.
And then pick the flat pick up and play steel guitar, like Lord Green music. Yeah, he was he didn't last but a year. Him and Artie didn't get along too good. And when Artie don't like somebody, there's something wrong with them.
Yeah.
And they had a little falling out, so had to let him slide. But Brent leaving, that was downhill for a while. I forget who was next. There was 3 or 4 that don't matter.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying anything. They're all better players than me, and
Yeah.
but they didn't matter to me.
So who's the next one that comes along that really really
I had a
brings it
kid
back up?
called Gary Don Smith.
Okay.
He's from Louisiana. He was, he might have been 18 or 19. Paul, he was a rip-roaring monster. Telecaster. He's from Louisiana. He sang. He loved Texas swing. He loved roly-polies and that kind of music, but he was a blues freak just like me and could just burn it. He was wonderful, but I don't know if he drank too much. I don't know even what happened to him, but he had a little trouble with his girlfriend who was a waitress there, and they didn't want him around anymore.
Yeah.
So I had to replace him. The next one that really makes me think a lot of was Walter Garland. He's from California. He graduated from that guitar school. What is the big...
GIT.
Yeah, big into that. Another monster guy, incredible. He played, and I loved this guy, and a great guy. But he got a chance to go with a star that had #1 records, and I don't know what happened to him. He moved. And I'm trying to think who's next. Troy Lancaster played.
Yeah.
Good guitar player. Real good. Another one. Anyway, let's move on to the singers' night at the Stagecoach. And I think it was on Wednesdays. This means jam session. Singers' night combined.
Yeah.
So what we did, we played the first set, and then we would get anybody up that wanted to play.
Yeah. Because
If you knew
yes.
all of the happening now girl songs, you could play.
Yeah.
Because we wanted down.
Yeah.
And we did the first set, and we had a couple of bass players that knew every damn one of them. Bingo,
Yeah.
we got them up right then.
Right.
And they stayed.
So all the girls could come up and sing their
Called out Patsy Cline, and they could play it.
Right.
And the same with the guitar player. And it used to be a fight to see who could get down first.
Yeah.
Because I was always first because I'm the MC. I'm out of there.
Yeah, because then you can have a drink or you can just hang out.
Yeah, but you had to kind of sign up to get up and play. No matter who was singing, you could play. So Red Volkart comes in there, and he's fresh from Texas. He spent some time. He left California. Well, you know that story.
Yeah. He was in Canada.
Yeah.
He goes out to California.
Now, he
goes to
remembers
Texas.
this different to me.
Yeah. No, I want to hear your version.
Well, he comes in there and he signs up or let me know that he wanted to, and he's sitting way at the back of the room. He's sitting there by himself, and I go through everybody, and it's the last set, And to be honest, I did kind of forget about it, but I'm real critical, when I first meet somebody. People that ask to sit in, normally I don't fool with. But anyway, he's sitting back there, and I felt bad. We had to get back up there, the whole band, because everybody was done. We get back up, we're doing this last set, and I see him sitting back there, and I thought, God damn, I got to get this guy.
Yeah, he stayed here the whole night.
Yeah, he's been there waiting.
Yeah.
And later on, I felt real bad. I apologized. But I got him up there, and he's got it's a Telecaster, but it's was it Memphis St. Blues?
St. Blues, yeah.
It's a St. Blues Telecaster.
Oh, yeah, that was...
And I looked and I thought, oh, shit.
that ain't no Fender.
Yeah. And I asked him, I said, is there anything that you want to do? He said, yeah, just whatever. So I think I started off with truck driving, man. I mean, burned it. Oh, man. He steps up there and me and Art are going, are you kidding?
Because here's this, red-haired kind of round fellow, and just killing
God. He just ripped it off. And I needed a guitar player. Gary Nunn's gone.
Yeah.
I'm using subs. And I forget the songs that we did. It's been so long, but I said, man, this is ridiculous to find this guy. And you can't name a song he can play. And if you want to do a blues shuffle, he can play that too.
Yeah.
It was incredible. He did. And I just asked him, but then I said, man, you want a gig? It's here.
Yeah.
I forgot what they made. They made $250 or something like that. And you could work on Sunday. But boy, we were locked in, and we both liked everything. We loved music stores and pawn shops and Mexican food.
Yeah.
So we palled around every day, me and Red. Yeah, and
so at this point, is the band coming down to a quartet, to four guys at this point? Is there still like a 5-piece with a piano player? Or because I was wondering when it kind of comes down to like the classic.
We got to Clinton Gregory.
Oh, okay, yeah, and that Red went off and played with him.
Yeah, Red. Yeah, I had Billy, another fiddle player, for a while, but he didn't sing and he didn't play guitar. But he left to go with somebody, I guess. His name was, I can't think of his name. He passed away too, bless his heart. But it was going to be Sean Camp or Clinton.
Yeah.
And they both sat in and played for me.
Yeah.
I wish I'd have took Sean Camp, but I didn't. I got Clinton, who I didn't know, but it had a light record deal with some small label.
Right.
And they had done an album on it. Great singer, great fiddle player. And that's all I'll say about that. But he got that deal, and the record label gave him a bus. He had a chart record.
Yeah.
And he takes Red and Kevin Grant.
Oh, yeah. I know Kevin.
And
bass player.
For his road band. So who did I get after Red?
Be like Danny Parks or who?
Danny Parks.
Okay.
That's right. Danny Parks plays fiddle. That's why I hired him. But Danny Parks didn't like to play fiddle. He wanted to play the Telecaster.
Yeah.
That he got Joe Glazer to build that had EMG pickups in it. Wrong.
You didn't like the sound of that.
Not at
Yeah,
all.
they're real
No-
crisp high end.
No
yeah.
Fender amp. He had a power amp
Yeah,
and 2 high-dollar monitors
yeah.
sitting on the floor. Wrong.
Wrong.
But I love Danny Parks. He's a great musician. Don't get me wrong.
Yes.
But that wasn't working for me at all. And I don't know. Danny started doing a lot of demos and stuff. And so
Yeah.
I don't know who I got after that. I think it did. Hell, I don't know.
Yeah, but this is another little interesting side thing. So you've kind of got strong ideas about tone, about pickups, about where the speakers are placed, all sorts of things.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely the best.
Yeah. So you wanted amps off the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I even got on Brent's ass about the PB amps. But then I got me one.
So at first you didn't like the PV amps, but then,
Oh, hell no.
So why?
And,
Yeah.
Yeah. And when I was with Joe Stampley, I had a amp deal with, what is that other amp? God, it was on my tongue. But they gave us all amps. And then when I left Joe Stampley, they took it back.
So and you wanted guitar players to get their amps off the floor? Is that part of it?
Well, not so much that, but yeah, that'd be a Fender amp. I didn't want to hear that.
Yeah.
You know, and battery-driven pickups. What the hell are they thinking? God almighty.
Yeah. So Danny Parks play. Does Red come back, or so what happens? You know.
Oh, Red comes back later on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Red comes back twice.
Yeah.
After that.
And I also heard that you fired him at least once. You want to say why you fired him?
Bless his heart, I'll never forget that. It was I won't tell what happened, but I was either going to lose 2 guys that stuck with me when it was nothing,
Yeah.
or Red had to go. It was one of those kind of deals. But everybody's all made up and forgot about
but
it
y'all,
now.
Yeah, it was all worked out, and he came back again.
Yeah, and he played with somebody after Clint Gregg. It was just anyway.
Yeah.
Red didn't stay with that long, and he came back at a little place. It was a basement called what was the name of it? Buckboard. That's it. Okay. It was in the bottom of a building out on Donaldson Pike, and first I had Rod Riley.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Or did I get Rod after Red?
I get a little hazy.
This ain't that. It's not funny.
Right.
Yeah.
Y'all supposed to be helping.
The peanut gallery is supposed to be helping.
Yeah. Rod Riley. I had another little guitar player, a great little Telecaster player. I can't think of his name either, but he was trying to date one of the waitresses at Buckboard, and they got in an argument, and the clubber said, "I can't have that." He's gone.
Yeah.
And I got Rod Riley, and Rod was going to play steel guitar and electric guitar. Well, he gets a Vern Gosden gig, so I call Red back.
Yeah.
Red comes back, and we go to Gabe's.
Yeah. And Gabe's was kind of a rough place.
Yeah, Gabe's was like the Demon's Den downtown. Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, it was like a jam thing. You know, all the road bands, there'd be 3 steel guitar players set up on the dance floor.
Wow.
Yeah, great places. Yeah. You know, it's not like that no more.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you need a musician, just go hang out with them jam sessions.
Yeah, you'd find somebody that you like.
Great ones.
Yeah. So
but Red came back, and we were out at Gabe's.
Yeah. And when are we coming down to like the format of the 4-piece band of you fronting a bass player, drummer, and electric player?
Really, we were the first one was a 4-piece. Me and Brent and Bird and Paul Cook.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite bands.
Yeah.
It my most favorite. And David Bird was such a soulful piano player.
Yeah.
You know, he grew up in a Pentecostal home just like I did. Boy, he just banged that left hand, you know. You knew Bird was there, that's for sure. And when he left, I got Drew Sexton, and he's another one.
Yeah.
They grew up in the same town, Oneida, Tennessee.
Wow. So you get Red. So and you and Red are going to Mexican food places and pawn shops and picking up, trying to find old Telecasters and stuff like that.
We were like pawn shopping every day, and there was no internet to tell these guys what they had.
Exactly.
Yeah. I bought some great stuff. So did he.
Yeah.
He's still the king.
He is. To this day, he still somehow finds all sorts of crazy stuff.
I ain't gonna tell you about his last deal, but I talked to him last week.
Yeah.
he don't want me to share that.
He had two blackguards.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh, you know about it.
I know about that. I don't know the money, but I know that he got two blackguards. Yeah.
He's the king of it.
Yeah.
He's the king of it, but ain't no doubt about that. Yeah, but Red and I, he's just a character.
Yeah.
And it shows in his playing.
Yeah.
And everybody's got to have something.
Yeah. It's funny how much people's character comes out in their playing.
Oh, yeah. And they can be all the character they want to as long as they do what I ask them to do.
So
that's the easiest gig in the world. You come down there and you do what I ask you to do at first, and then getting your money, you're going to have the best. You're going to get to play more than you ever played in your life.
That's right.
You're going to be 10 times a musician when you leave this band, and you're going to make more money than anybody on the street.
Yes. Let's hit on this. So you start getting, you have some players that are kind of more fully formed, but then you start getting some of the younger players that you're kind of acting like a coach for, and they're getting to play. They're getting instruction from you.
Oh, the old guys got coached too.
So how did you coach them?
What would you coach them? If I didn't like something, I told them.
Yeah.
Do this, don't do that.
Yeah.
Would
you give them the stink eye?
I just tell them.
Yeah. Yeah. Would you tell them during the song?
No, after.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you start getting these players and you're telling them what you want, and they're getting the chance to play.
Oh man!
4 or 5 nights a week for like 4 hours. I mean, there's nothing better for your playing.
I tell you what, 2 weeks after JD got there, he was burning.
Yeah.
Burning.
Because I knew him. I was playing with him before he played with you.
Oh really?
And so I kind of helped him move to town.
Yeah.
And so when he was trying to get a deal, and I was playing in his band. So
Dave Rowe played on his session.
Yes, that's right. I played with Dave, and we had done some showcases and stuff for labels, and everybody passed on him because he was out there. Because he was all over the place wearing a rhinestone suit and everything. And so then...
But he liked Pete Anderson.
He did.
Yeah.
So, but the thing that happened is that, of course, he's told the story of how, he was, out of money and stuff. And so he starts playing with you, and JD keeps calling me, and he said, "Hey, come out and see me play with Don." And I'm like, whatever. I just didn't think any, because it was like, JD's this, I'd played with him and stuff, and he was the guy that's on the floor playing with his teeth and doing all this crazy stuff. And I was like, he's like, I love you, buddy, but And so finally he kept saying, and finally it got to the point where it was awkward. And I was like, okay, I'm going down to Roberts. I'm going to go play, with you. And he was so much better. And he had learned how to control that energy that he had.
Yeah,
he was able to focus it and those solos and his
where it
tone.
counts.
Yeah. And instead of just playing crazy loud and with a bunch of pedals, he just had a Tele and a deluxe.
Yeah.
And he sounded amazing. And it was like the difference of your coaching and everything.
He just nailed it, boy. I tell him, we got 2 guitars, a bass, and drums. Somebody got to step up. When it's your turn.
Yeah.
And Red Volkart, you give him 2 or 3 solos, he's going to play the first one in the front position.
Yeah.
And he gets a second one.
He's going to go to the back.
It's time to play.
And he's
right.
going to
Yeah,
really...
he'll noodle around a little bit up here with a little bit of a few chords there. And
a little jazzier Western swing type thing.
A little bit of that shit I don't want to hear. And then flip it on the back pickup.
Where you want to
be the whole time.
The whole time. All right, so after Red, we get to Johnny Highland.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Johnny Highland. I didn't know Red was even leaving yet. You know, he on the corner across the street there where Rippy's is, there was 2 old bars.
Yeah.
Terrible places. And I'd go to work early and go listen to some people, you know. And it was in the summertime, and I was walking down the street and right over there, across over the Rippies, and I was walking by there, and I heard this solo. Boy, burning that thing, and it sounded like Ricky Skaggs, Ray Flack stuff, and that's what it was.
Yeah.
And I stood by the window, and there's this little pudgy kid playing a Telecaster. And, I thought, man, that kid can play. So they played there in the afternoon. Well, a couple of days after that, I'd see him. You walk in Roberts, there was a bench there, and he would be sitting there. Johnny would be sitting there, and Red's playing, and he's looking straight ahead. And I think I asked whoever was playing me, maybe it was Ronnie. I asked him, Ronnie, you know him? He said, no, I don't know him. So a couple of days later, come back by there. So he got through playing on a song, and I went like that.
Yeah.
He didn't even look at me.
Right.
I thought, what the hell? So then one time he was back in there, and I asked, the bass player was a friend of his. They moved here together. Sid, he passed away too. Anyway, I asked Sid, I said, what the hell's wrong with him? You know, he said, Don, he can't see you.
Yeah.
Boy, I felt about that big.
Yeah.
So anyway, I used him, I think, when Red flew out to audition for Merle. I think I used Johnny. It was a no-brainer.
Yeah, he just fit in.
Yeah, he just burned it. Yeah, he just burned it. He's something.
Yeah, and one thing I feel like we need to hit on here is that all the time that you're playing, from the beginning up, all these guitar players, stars, singers, all these people are coming and seeing y'all play.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, the whole
Well,
time.
not to see me. They're coming.
But they're coming for the whole show.
Yeah.
But you know, so you've got, you know, like JD had talked about, like, you know, Reggie Young and James Burton and all these different people coming, and you've got all these people coming and see. There's some pressure. There's some stars.
I didn't give a shit about none of them. I didn't care about them people.
Yeah.
At all. You know, people that come and ask you to get them up because their friends are with them.
Yeah.
I ain't letting them up there. And the ones that'll come up to you and give you their card and say, man, I can do everything he can do. I've had that a number of times.
Right.
What does that tell you? I don't want him in my band. Or, hey, you need to hear my son play.
Yeah.
He can do that.
So that brings up kind of an interesting little side question. So, you know, you're always got, you know, band members coming and going to a degree, and especially in the guitar slot. So, you know, are you always kind of keeping files of like, hey, so and so's good. If something happens to Red, you know, so how did that kind of? Because you're not letting people sit in, and you're not taking people's business cards. So, but you're just observing different guys playing, and you're kind of just
I just hung out early on Lower Broadway.
Yeah.
You know, and I just did what I thought would make everybody a little money.
Yeah.
And get to play with people that can play.
Yeah.
And, you know, if I made somebody mad over this little interview, I don't care. You know, I didn't name their names. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't want nobody to do it to me.
Yeah.
But there's some people that they just didn't do what I needed. You know, I'm going to have to stand up there with him 4 hours a night every day.
Yeah.
You know, I was working 7 days.
Yeah.
I had a different band on Sunday.
It's your gig.
Well, I just wanted to keep it.
Yeah.
You know. And it was working so far, so I wasn't going to change nothing.
Yeah.
But these people that come back, these players, and here's what they look like. They're standing by the bar.
Yeah.
And you know, me and Joe, we recognize right off, you know.
Yeah.
Here's what they do. Every night. I mean, so Joe and I started calling them out.
Yeah.
We'd point at them, you know. And those two that we did that to, they never came back. You know,
Yeah.
we never saw them again.
Because there's people that will talk big or think big about themselves, but
Well, yeah, and how you going to run down somebody like that and that? Come on, you know, grow up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have no patience for that.
So Johnny Highland's in the band.
Oh man,
Yeah.
that was a no-brainer right there because he knew every Red Volkart lick in the world.
Because Red had kind of mentored him a little bit. You know?
Yeah, well, I don't think they were buddies. I don't know,
Okay.
but Johnny here at one time he can play it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. They might have been hanging out of hell. I don't know.
Yeah.
But Johnny Highland he took it a notch up too.
Yeah.
He brought a little pudgy blanket that could eat that Telecaster up.
Yeah.
And he can play everything else too.
Yeah.
Yeah, Johnny is one of a kind, and so is Red. So is Brent.
You've had a bunch of one of a kinds.
Yeah.
So then I guess.
So is JD.
Yeah.
They all brought something,
Yeah.
and I kept it. You know.
Yeah.
You know, you got to step up like JD.
Yeah.
You got to play like Red. You got to be humble like Johnny. You know, all of those things.
See, that's interesting that you're showing how the players that came through the band, they changed you and they changed how you led and they changed what you wanted in the guitar position.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, if I give anybody advice, never, ever retire. I don't give a damn if they roll you to the gig in a wheelchair. Do not do it. Because you'll damn sure regret it.
All right.
But, you know, that I didn't want to be sick.
Yeah.
You know, being 75 years old at that time, well, 74, I didn't want to go back down there. I mean, I wanted to go down there.
Yeah.
But I knew if I did, I might not, you know, I don't drink, don't smoke, never have, and I'm in pretty good shape. I probably would have been all right. But everybody down there got it.
Yeah.
When these guys went back, they got sick.
Yeah.
And I already had that. My son had, bless his heart, he built his daddy a house in a 60-year and older neighborhood. You got to buy a property, you got to be 60 years older. And my son found that house. He took it from the subfloor to the roof. It's brand new. Everything's paid for, you know. And I thought, boy, you know, you could probably do this a couple more years and not embarrass yourself, but it's time to go.
Yeah.
So I sold my house in White House, and 3 days later I was gone. But back to Johnny Highland.
Yeah. So you had, so Johnny, you know, brought his own, you know, intensity, and then you get up to Guthrie Trap. And, you know,
Okay, this is a good story here.
Okay, tell us.
Yeah, that's a good one here. I've been singing Guthrie on Sunday nights. I had a Sunday night band, me and Porter, me on bass, which was my all-time favorite instrument, you know,
Yeah.
guitar. So I could stand up front and show off. That's what that was about.
Yeah.
And I could do it enough to get by. Guthrie was coming in, he was playing with Duo in Louisville. He would drive all the way down. He had heard that CD with me and Johnny Highland in Floribama.
Yeah, where he's from.
Yeah, in a music store. They had that CD playing. And he asked the guy, who is that? He said, that's Don Kelley. And he said, man, I like that music. So he found out we were playing at Roberts, I guess, and he would come in on, I think it was Sunday night, because there wouldn't be very many people in there, and he wore that little hat, you know, and he said in the bar, just sit there. So we got through one night, and he standing out front was Joe's son. You know who Joe's son is?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Joe's son was outside, and I walked out the front door. It was the summertime, and Guthrie's walking down the street toward Gruins. That's the way I remember it now. And Joe said, "Hey, Don, have you ever heard that boy play?" I said, "Who?" He said, that guy right. He said, "He's a damn monster." I said, "Hey!" He's walking down the street. And he turned around and he came back. I said, "Joe, tell me you're a guitar player." And I needed one. And he said, "Yeah." He said, he told me where he's from and where he played and that and that. And Joe said, "Hey." And I said, "Look, you going to come back in town Sunday?" And he said, "Yeah, I'm going to come back." I said, "Well, you got a Telecaster?" He said, "I got one." He didn't, but he said he did. He brings a goddamn G&L. But he didn't this time. This is the funny part. He didn't bring it.
Yeah.
That next Sunday, Kenny Vaughn subbing Sunday night. Me and Kenny Vaughn, I think it was Brian Knopf, little electric bass player that played with Marty for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, great singer, great friend. And I think it was Brian Knopf. Anyway, Guthrie gets there and it's Kenny Vaughn, and we don't know Guthrie. Kenny Vaughn, and he comes in with a damn jazz box, a big one, and it ain't even got a strap. He's got to sit on the stool. I was like, what in the hell is that? Anyway, he gets on this stool, and boy, from then on, me and Kenny Vaughn were going. I think I did roly-poly, if I remember right. I did everything. I mean, I did truck driving and all. I just threw everything in.
You're putting him through the paces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's on this jazz box and he's frying it. But I'm like a magnet.
Yeah.
Here he comes. And that's the way I remember it. But thanks to Joe's son, I would have never said a word to him.
So again, back to these, how you're finding guys. It's all word of mouth.
Yeah.
And you're not. If some guy comes up and tells you that he's like, "Hey, I'm so great and I can do anything," it's like, who cares?
I just blow
But
him
if
off.
Joe's son or someone that you respect, that you know, gives a
Yeah.
recommendation, that's everything.
Yeah, shit. He had Ray Fleck for a while, I think.
Yeah. Before he went with Skeggs.
Yeah. But he
So
Guthrie was something. He brought something else there. He brought the blues
okay.
into the chicken picking.
Yeah.
And boy, he's a great blues guitar player, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
If he sang, we'd all have to leave town. I'm telling you.
He's a great player. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a wonderful player.
Yeah. So
He don't have much focus. He won't look at you.
thanks, Don. Thanks, Don.
We love you, Guthrie.
Yeah. So Guthrie starts getting busy with some other stuff. I think he was playing like some with Patty Loveless, and he was playing some with
they
Jerry
all
Douglas.
started flocking in there,
Yeah.
pitching. Jerry Douglas and Sam Bush, they all are hanging out in there, And, I don't get starstruck easy. I give a damn less about them. They don't pay my bills.
Yeah.
And he started subbing out a little bit, and a lot of people can't do that 6 nights a week stuff.
It's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now Guthrie, he was a great player when he got there. He was a better player when he left.
Yeah. Everybody,
4
4 hours a night, 5, 6
It's what it
nights
is,
a week.
and I'm gonna buy for Christmas. They all get a pencil and a piece of paper, so they can write down what they owe me. They all owe me. He owes me, and he owes me.
Well, you're gonna have to send it out to a lot of people. You've had a lot of people in your band.
Yeah.
People
Some
that owe
of
you
them
money.
didn't give a forwarding address. So I don't know about
So Guthrie starts doing other stuff, and then you get, our friend JD, who was actually down here earlier.
Yeah, and nobody wanted JD in there. I won't name who. But hell, Dave Rowe told me about JD. He played on that session.
Right.
And he said, this guy would be a good sub. And I never heard him play. I took him cold, I think. He subbed a Sunday night or something. Shit, I don't remember. But he played real good. And for some reason, Kenny Vaughn had been doing Ghost Riders in the Sky. Complete different version, than what I turned it into. A better version. Kenny Vaughn played it great, but it never gets up here. It starts here, and and it's real pretty, and it
Yeah.
stays here. Well, I went home, and I don't have a good ear, but I was in my garage with a flat top, and I worked up the head. I started doing that little pull-off thing in the open A string, you know. It sucks, but I was doing that. And I learned the head best I could. It's not right, but it's close.
Yeah.
And you recognize the song.
Yes.
So I told JD, I said, look, I'm going to play the head twice. You play the head twice. And then it's step up time.
Yeah.
And man, that first time we did that, I mean, Dave Rowe's eyes that big around. And mine too. And Artie's going.
Because it was like a psychedelic
Artie's
freak out.
looking at me like his dog died. And when he started shaking that head, everybody in that building went slap happy nuts.
Yeah.
So right after we did that song, Dave Rowe was passing the jug. I said,
Pass-
jug. And we sold more CDs in that one night that I remember than we did all week.
Yeah.
And I said, you know, I'm not very smart, but a light went on.
Yeah.
And from when out of the money went up, the crowds went up. You just take what's good about them and use it,
Yeah.
you know, to my benefit.
Yeah. And yeah, so that was one of the things I've always been curious about, Don, is how the Ghost Riders became, one of the tunes, and I didn't realize it was.
Well, you blame it on me, not Kenny,
Yeah.
because he played it right.
Yeah.
Kenny Vaughn's got a good version of it, but I saw the little bit of the crowd when he did it. They liked that old song. They liked it, but he never built it to what I thought it should be.
Yeah.
Boy, JD took it over the top.
He made it into like a psychedelic freak out. I mean, it was just like the Yardbirds or something like that.
It was perfect.
Yeah.
What he did, and his tone was good.
Yeah.
And he can play too. You know, JD ain't half stepping ever. But JD's a blues player, and I told him every time, especially when he was getting ready to leave, I said, "Man, you got to play the blues."
Yeah.
I said, "That's what you do."
That's what he loves.
And he does.
Yeah.
JD's a monster.
Yeah.
They all are, every damn one of them.
So next, of course, JD started kind of doing his own thing, and he kind of transitions out of the band, and Daniel Donato comes in, and he's probably the youngest guy to ever come through the band. I mean, wasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't check their ID. I don't give a shit.
As long as they're not illegal or something. Yeah. So
I don't even know how I got to know he could play. I don't know.
Yeah. So he was coming. So then you have Donato, and then like Porter kind of comes back in, and then
now Porter, we can't leave Porter out.
Yeah.
Porter is a Sunday night guy. Me and Porter and Josh Headley and Dave Rowe's son had a band. That was a fun night. Sunday night was my favorite for a long time.
Wow.
Until I got Joe.
Yeah.
And then I didn't want to play bass no more after that. I gave him Sunday night for that reason.
Wow.
Yeah.
So during the, JD's time, you get Joe Fick. Who's here with us today.
JD tells me about Joe.
Yeah. He's
friends with the Dempsey's guitar player, which was their high school band. And they moved to Nashville as kids to play Memphis music.
Yeah.
Rockabilly, and they were outstanding show.
Yeah.
And I never would go because I don't like it. I don't like it. And JD said, "Man, you got to hear it." I don't give a shit about that, JD. And he'd say, "Man, the bass players," I had Dave Rowe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And boy, first time I got Dave Rowe in the band, and he did the slap thing, boy, another light went off.
All of a sudden, that rockabilly thing wasn't so bad.
Well, the slap bass was great.
Right.
I don't care about the rockabilly shit.
Yeah.
But he CDs, and that he wasn't even on that CD.
Yeah.
But anyway, people like that. They want to see these great players play. You can't copy Merle Haggard record note for note. Goddamn, how you going to do it better than Merle?
Yeah.
You know, you can do, everybody's going to recognize working man blues, but when it's solo time, you got to say something. And they all did, every damn one of them.
Yeah.
And if they didn't, I told them. And the next time, they step up.
Yeah. Or they move on.
No, I never fired nobody.
Yeah.
Well, I did. I fired Red.
So
I love you, Red.
yeah. And I'm just gonna, give little props to Joe. Joe,
Absolutely.
Joe played, bass on the Elvis movie, also along with JD, especially on some of the early stuff. So
Yeah.
we want to give Joe. And so Joe comes into the band, and he, of course, is also from that slapping and popping, and he kind of brings that element even more than like Dave.
I remember the first time he subbed,
Yeah.
and it was time to play your solo in Truck Driving Man. That was a no-brainer for me.
Yeah.
And he wanted to be in that band, and it showed. He wanted to be in that band,
Yeah.
and it showed. And now that I laid it in their laps, they got the band.
Yeah. So that's another kind of important thing. So you kind of decided, to move down to Florida, and it seems like you kind of laid the groundwork for them to continue on. So was Joe kind of like your protege as far as like, being...
Oh, he just, that last year or so before that pandemic hit, I was making him MC more. I was making him talk in between songs if I was tuning, just a little stuff like that. And
Yeah.
he's, you need to go no further on Lower Broadway.
Yeah.
And this new little drummer you got, Bill, he's another monster. But when I'm hard on drummers,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so after you
How you
left...
say Billy Van Vliet?
Vliet.
Vliet. That's what I said.
Yeah.
Billy Van Vliet. I don't leave Billy out.
Yeah.
He's filling some big shoes. I've had some good. Artie's a monster drummer.
Yeah.
We just did a little jam session over at Joe's Airbnb. Me and Artie hadn't played drums in 7 years.
Wow.
He sets up a bass drum and a hi hat and a snare drum. And the first couple of songs, it was, his hands hurt him.
Yeah.
He's old. He's a year or two older than me, but he played together with me 30 years. Me and Artie. Different as daylight and dark. He's from Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
and I'm from North Texas, and opposites attract. And but after he got going, he started smiling, and Luke was killing him on that guitar. I got me and Luke and Joe facing Artie's. It's a little room littler than this.
Yeah.
And boy, he finally wound up, and he was having a big time. And he can play. He can hold a gig right now. He just don't want to, I guess.
Yeah. So how did Luke get in the band?
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Well, I had a drummer named Stan. He was who place did he take?
Artie.
No, Matt.
Stan, then Matt.
Oh, Stan. Yeah, Artie. Stan, great drummer, good singer. He's the one that fell through the window.
Oh yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
That's,
I've heard that story.
He was getting his mileage after Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
This,
Yeah. So and I'm just gonna for all those kids out in the audience, Roberts is the stage backs up to this big plate glass window,
which is 5 feet off the ground.
Yeah. and the drummer is usually backed up right against near the window because it's not a very big stage, and so this drummer was playing and he fell through the window.
Yeah, and got up, dusted the you can't make this up.
Yeah.
And dusted the glass off, comes back in and finishes the night. We put tape over.
Yeah, because basically he falls out into the street.
Yeah.
And then he goes on the street and then goes into the door back onto the stage and gets
finished.
up and plays. Yeah.
I swear to God he did.
So we're getting to Luke.
If I could spell good, I damn sure would write a bestseller.
Yeah.
I would call it the ukulele.
The ukulele. So the drummer recommends Luke?
No, well, first, this is wintertime now. It's cold.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the window, and there's this long-haired kid standing out looking in. He's too young to get in.
Yeah.
It's cold. He's standing out there. This goes on Sunday nights and one night during the week. And I saw a car pull up. He gets out. He comes to the window. He stands. The car leaves. An hour later, what, unbeknownst to me, it's his mama. She drops him off down there. He stands outside to listen to Porter and, was it J.D.? Yeah, Porter and J.D. But he's outside. And Stan said, have you ever heard that kid play guitar? And I said, I don't know him. He said his daddy's a real good player too. And, I hear that every 7 nights a week.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, the way I remember it, it's cold. Well, the doorman's over there, got the door shut, he's over there. I said, hey, tell that kid to come in here and stand by the door. He's freezing in there. And, well, I knew from Stan he's a guitar player. And so he comes in there and he stands there. I did it for several nights, didn't you? Yeah. And how did I come to get you up? Stan said to get you up, didn't he?
I think so.
Was Stan there, the drummer?
I think he was there. Yeah.
He got arrested.
Huh? Was it?
He got arrested.
Oh,
He's saying he got arrested.
Was that the first time?
One of them. He played the
Well,
life.
anyway, what he said.
Yeah, he got arrested.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Wasn't my fault.
Yeah.
Anyway, Luke's standing there. So Porter was playing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Porter was playing guitar. It had to be Sunday. Porter was playing. And they handcuffed the guy and take him out. And we're standing there with no drummer. We still got, what, 2 hours? Yeah, we're standing there and go. I said, well, we'll just slap bass it.
Yeah.
And Porter says, no, Don, get Luke, let Luke play. I can play drums. And I said, Porter, you can't play no damn drums. He said, man, I got drums set. I can play drums. And if you knew Porter McClister, it's hard to say no to him. 'Cause
he's intense.
He is not going to shut up.
No.
I said, Porter, I'm not going to fool with that. Let's finish this up and go home.
Yeah.
He said, no, Don, I ain't. And he's right in my face now.
Yeah.
We got a few people in there. It's not crowded, but we got a few people. I said, damn it. I said, okay, come on. And so Porter gets behind the drum. I said, Luke. And Luke comes up there, and I said, and he's got Porter, because the guitar come down to here. Porter strap.
Yeah, because Porter's not a little guy.
And I think I tied a knot in that strap, or I had one.
Yeah, you tied
I tied a knot in that strap, so I get it where it's high up here. And so we're getting ready to play, and Porter's back there. He's
tuning everything, moving everything around.
oh yeah, like he's unbelievable. And I said, Porter, I said, we're not going to do nothing fast. Oh, yeah, that's okay. I can play it. He said, I'm not kidding, Don. And Joe's going. So I did look up her. I said, son, do you know any of these songs that I do? He said, yes, sir, all of them. I said, you know them all? He said, yes. I said, do you remember what we did?
all of them.
He did all of them.
Do you remember the first one?
Was it Little Sister or something?
It might have been like Big River or something.
Yeah, right.
Real mid-tempo. And,
Yeah, I was taking it easy on
Yeah.
I was taking it easy on Porter.
Yeah.
right.
So we do this, and Porter, he's, we got through that song, and it was not as bad as I thought.
Yeah.
He could play a little bit. But then we had to do something with a little tempo. We did some bluegrass. I mean, he's sweating blood back.
Porter. Yeah.
And Luke's burning it.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at Joe, and I'm saying, here we go. Here's another one. And I knew from the time we got through. And didn't we sell a lot of CDs that night?
Oh, we have.
Yeah. Anyway, I knew that he was the next one, and Porter was not going to be the drummer.
Yeah, yeah.
But he did great. He did great,
And you found Luke.
I found Luke, and that was the end of that.
Yeah.
So his daddy had been coming to see me for years. I didn't even know him
Yeah.
at all, but he had a CD that he gave that kid when he was 12, and he learned all of them. Johnny Highland's on it. He learned all of it. Was that the first CD?
I think so.
Yeah.
Wow.
Don't act like you don't know. You know.
So,
Damn.
so then you kind of already told the story of your, kind of the reason for you, moving on and I think one of the really wonderful things is that the band goes on.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
And so they call themselves Kelley's Heroes, as Don Kelley's Heroes.
Yeah. They didn't spell my name right.
Yeah. If only
I'm
they.
still pissed about that.
Yeah.
Kelley. What the hell is wrong with y'all?
I got it spelled right. What are you talking about?
Oh, you do?
Yeah, on the CD.
Oh, okay.
So guys, so people can't see Don with the band anymore, but still the band performs as a trio, and they're still down at Roberts, and they're still playing the same
Okay.
time slot.
Yeah, and they were going to take that time slot, but they thought better of it, and they made a good decision. Nobody can do that time slot except these guys.
Yeah.
Nobody, and it makes a difference. But the owner realized that, and they're still down there.
6 to
And
10.
I can't say enough about that little drummer, my last drummer, Billy. How long did he play while I was there?
6 months.
Yeah, not very long.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's another East Tennessee boy, and he's a monster too.
Yeah.
And he can sing. I didn't know it. Yeah, they're just. What is the guy's name that came in and got you to play the Ryman?
Jordan Peterson.
Yeah.
What?
Jordan Peterson.
Jordan
So,
Peterson.
Yeah. So yeah,
Do you know about that?
Yeah, famous speaker. And so I'd heard the story of and I believe they posted
Yeah.
about it where Jordan was speaking at the Ryman,
Yeah.
and he loved seeing them so much
Yeah.
that he had them open the show.
He did.
So
Yeah, he did.
I mean that's amazing.
Yeah, it is an amazing story.
And these guys are playing every week, 6 to 10,
That's right.
Monday through Saturday. Like Wednesday through Saturday. Is that correct?
No,
Wednesday through Saturday, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Wednesday. Yeah, right.
Wednesday through, and so everyone that comes to Nashville, that's like the one must do is you got to go down and see these guys so they can see your legacy.
But there is, and as good of players these guys. That's what kind of people they are too.
Yeah,
I mean, I know people.
yeah,
Good and bad, and I don't know what side I'm on, but I know good people, and these guys are good to get. I need to talk about Luke's dad.
okay,
Yeah, Luke's dad, Scotty. He was coming to see me. I didn't even know he was. He's come to see me when I think as far back as Red.
No, just John.
Johnny, right, and bought the CDs, and he's a Telecaster wizard too. His
Wow.
daddy, yeah, Scott McCurry,
yeah,
and his daddy gave the CD to Luke, bought him his first guitar, and Scotty's dream was to be in this band. He didn't tell me this till now.
Yeah.
I didn't even know who he was till Luke, and to have his son up there and taking over is an amazing story right there.
it is an amazing story.
And his daddy's a real good player too,
Yeah.
real soulful, and not so much a million notes kind of guy, which is my kind of guy. He's a heartfelt Telecaster player, a good one.
Yeah,
And that whole family is. And Joe to step up after Dave Rowe.
yeah, those are big shoes to
Yeah, that's
fill.
big shoes to fill right there. And people don't know Dave Rowe's a hell of an electric bass player too,
That's right.
big time, and a good singer.
Yeah, and he played with Johnny Cash and Dwight Yoakam and all sorts of other cats.
Yeah. Yeah, he used to get me to give him mileage on the microphone. Take me 15 minutes to introduce Dave Rowe.
Yeah,
Not that long. Now, Dave Rowe is a monster musician, no doubt about it. And Artie, Dave Rowe brought me Artie, 30 years worth
Yeah.
of a Yankee from Pennsylvania.
And he was a great fit.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
sure was.
Yeah.
He sure was. Yeah, every guy that came in there brought something. Dave Rowe set the standard for the upright bass
Yeah.
and showed me that if you could slap on them things, you can make me some money. and they did.
That's right.
And he's the best I ever heard.
Wow.
Best I ever heard. And hence, the guys from London that are doing the slap bass videos,
They're
that's who
copying
did.
Oh, Joe did.
Oh, you haven't seen that?
No, I haven't seen
Oh
that.
my God! You have to. How does he get that?
It's Discover Double Bass.
Okay, yes, I am. So they're like instructional videos that.
Yeah.
So Joe Fick has done these instructional videos on how to do slap bass.
That's
which-
right.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
And who is the other guy they got that we know?
Chris Wood.
Huh?
Chris Wood from the Wood Brothers.
Yeah, the Wood Brothers bass player.
Yes.
And the electric player that did it.
No electric player, but they had.
Oh, it was the Wood Brothers guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Don, this has been amazing. I really appreciate the fact that you've taken the time to tell your story, and we're so glad that kind of your legacy, you know, a very sizable, very mountainous legacy of music and players that you've brought through is continuing on with these guys that brought you here today.
Yeah, I wouldn't be doing this if they hadn't asked me. And this guy right here, he put it over the roof. Well, I went down to see my sister. It had been a month ago, and every time I go down, he's got a '60 Corvette, and we grew up poor, me and him, in the dirt alleys. That's where we lived, and his mother sewed Levi Strauss for a living. Bless her heart, she was a frail woman, Miss Holcomb, and she would walk to work and walk home, and her hands would be the color of this Levi.
From all the dye.
From she's sewing them, right. His dad was a barber. And one time my dad, I had a little Silvertone guitar. He had to pawn it. Now this is another tearjerker. But that stopped the music from me and David.
Yeah.
He had his instrument. I didn't have one. She found out how much was against that guitar and went and got it out. And she didn't have no money, but she knew if she got that guitar out, me and David could play.
Yeah.
So I owe her too.
Yeah.
But this guy,
Yeah.
if you got a friend like this guy, you're a rich man.
You are a rich man. Good friends are priceless.
Anybody that can teach me how to play this is a hell of a guy.
Well, Don, thank you so much.
All right, thank you for
coming
having
sit
me
down.
and putting up with me. And if I made anybody mad, get over it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it, Don.
Thank you for having me. And JD, if you're still here, don't play over the vocals.
All right. Thank you, Don.
I don't ever play over myself.
All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this interview. I need to give special thanks to True Tone and Bob Weil, also to Jamie Rowe for filming and editing the interview, and to Dana Weaver for making everything sound good with audio. Also, again, I need to thank Joe Fick, who's Don's last bass player and the guy who still leads Kelley's Heroes that plays downtown Nashville. He made this interview happen, and so thank you, Joe. All right, guys, see you next time. Bye-bye.